we'll call the meeting to order. Let's see, we have, the minutes were sent out. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
Yep.
Yes. So I'll accept a motion to approve unless there are any changes. No. Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
The minutes are approved. Thanks. We have a public forum. Is anybody here to speak this evening? No. Okay, let's see. And John, can you hear me? No, we can't hear you. John, I think you've got to unmute.
There he is.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
somehow it came, got it now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, somehow it went on mute. Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple items on my agenda. The first one is the funding to construct the new water storage tank up on Oak Hill. It's going to be going out to bid in the next few weeks. The original pricing a couple years ago was thinking it was going to be around 1.5 to 1.75 million. But the latest estimate based on the market, as well as some complexities to the site, puts it at about $2.75 million.
God.
So we did apply to get on the list for SRF funding last year, and that does look favorable. So what I'm looking this evening is just for the commission to vote to approve that borrowing for $2.75 million. And hopefully we'll be able to get the SRF funding. Because of Fitchburg's income levels, some other things, there's a good chance that we'll get some principal forgiveness on that in the 15 to 17% range. So that would be a good thing. So I think that's all I have. That tank needs to be replaced. It's age and the condition, but also DEP is mandating it. So it's the last of our older tanks. All the other ones are fairly new. So and those are all in good condition. We've had those evaluated recently, in addition to the annual inspection. So this will, put us in pretty good shape as far as storage tanks. So we do have some funding from other loans that we didn't actually end up borrowing, or will not borrow due to some savings that we had on the meter project. There's about $430,000 there that we didn't have to borrow, and also some on the skater project as well that came in under bid. So altogether, it comes out to about $800,000. So I still would like to borrow the 2.75 for the full cost of the tank because of the principal forgiveness, 15% or 17% times that amount, rather than trying to squeeze out of everything else and then just not borrow as much on the other loans, of course. So it makes the most financial sense. I don't know if there's any questions on that at all.
Any questions for John?
Just a comment. I agree with John. Instead of spending the money that we've borrowed for other projects that we underspent on, I think the more cost-conscious method would be to take out the SRF loan for the funding. You get that principal forgiveness back. Wastewater Division's done that recently on their combined sewer separation project. They received a little over $800,000 principal forgiveness over the total amount of the loan, which was what, $7 or $8 million?
8.2.
8.2. So I think that's the way to go.
Okay. Any other questions? Nope. So we're looking for a motion to, is this to recommend? What's the motion we're looking for, John?
To allow me to go ahead with borrowing through the SRF program, the 2.75 million. I still need to go through City Council, but this would be the first step in that process.
Okay. So we're looking for a recommendation to the City Council to borrow the 2.75 million?
Correct.
Correct?
Right.
Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next thing on here, and I've talked about it before, is our staffing issues. We currently have 4 vacancies in our distribution and meter room, among our distribution and meter room personnel. So we haven't had much luck in filling those. We are advertising them again this week. and to see if we can to get some applicants in there. But as I said before, we have 6 treatment plant operators and 1 chief operator. The chief operator has retired. His last day was this past Friday. He is going to stay on part-time to help us finish up the SCADA project, but otherwise he's done full-time work for us. So we did advertise for that position. We only received 1 applicant. That was an internal applicant. We didn't receive anybody from the outside, so we'll be interviewing that person. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But we also advertised for primary operators because we have 2 primary operators that are retiring in March. We didn't get any applicants from the outside that had any type of license or experience. We did get 2 applicants from the inside that were secondary operators for those positions. So, but of course, if they move from the secondary up into the primary, then we'll have to fill those secondary positions. Hopefully between now and then we can, advertise. We'll advertise again for secondary operators, assuming those other 2 operators are going to move up and try to fill those spots as well. But it's creating a bit of an issue with how many vacancies we have in the work that we need to do. The chief operator, the 1 map that we had, he's out basically out this week. He has COVID. That's one of the reasons I'm doing it remotely. I'm trying to limit my exposure because we had another treatment operator go out with COVID today. He came down with it this overnight, so he's out for a week or so. So with the chief operator gone and 2 other operators out, we want to limit how many people actually end up within the water department. I actually have a treatment license, so I could kind of assist them in manning the plants if necessary. So we'll get through it the next week, but I just want to let everybody know, what's going on with staffing and know how difficult it is to find somebody to fill these positions. I don't know if Nick has anything to add to that.
No, just that, John and I plan to meet with the mayor to discuss the vacancies and come up with a plan B, essentially, if we can't fill those vacancies with qualified staff, just in case, God forbid, we can't find anyone. So we'll be working on that over the next month or so, trying to figure out what we can do.
Yeah, we should have that meeting next week, we believe. So the mayor was unavailable this week. So, but it's just so we can develop some type of contingency plan, to continue to staff the 2 plants, as is required by Mass DEP. So,
yeah. One of the issues is just the pay for those positions. The union that represents those positions is in the process of contract negotiations with the city. Things have stalled out a little bit. We're hoping that once those contract negotiations resume, those positions can get bumped up a little bit in salary, and that might help attract people to those positions. But that's another thing we need to discuss with the mayor's office and human resources, just to see maybe there's something we can do in the meantime to try to get those salaries up and attract people. We're also fearful of losing people to other cities and towns who are in the same boat, staff shortages, they're able to up their salaries. There's no reason why someone would work here when they could go make, $5-6 an hour more elsewhere, especially if it's close by. So there's a lot of challenges we got to work through, but, it's on our minds and we're talking about it.
Yeah, and it does cause some day-to-day issues as far as, getting things done. I mean, we're, able to provide safe drinking water, but sometimes some things don't get done as quickly as we'd like, a meter change out or, finishing all the readings on the leftover meters from the older meter system and things like that. So it can be challenging at times, especially when, we also have some people out due to COVID or quarantine or something like that, which is what we do this week. So, I just want everybody to be aware of it and, that we are working toward trying to find some resolution to it and get some people in these positions. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anybody else has any questions or if anything else to add. That's all I have on that subject.
You have a question for John? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, wastewater.
All right, thank you. Well, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Got a few items on the agenda here. One that's been on there a while, the ongoing combined sewer project. That's under construction right now. The Cleghorn neighborhood, Clarendon Street area is basically complete. Besides some finishing touches we'll have to do in the spring. I think we got to add a couple catch basins and whatnot. So the project's really now transitioning back over to the Water Street area. The contractor's working on Nashua Street through the winter, as long as weather permits, frost doesn't get too thick, and the snowfall holds off. So they're only gonna have one crew in town. Project's still on schedule. It's about 70% complete, both in work and in our expected funds that we're going to disperse for the project. South Street will be the next big part of the project that we're going to start in the spring, once the weather breaks, probably around April time. The downtown project is still in the design phase. The borings are complete. We're finishing up some survey and moving into some dye testing of some homes, trying to find those illicit connections, catch basins, roof leaders tied into the system. We've also been in discussions internally about how to best phase that project, if we're going to break it up into pieces and bid it out, or bid it as one large project. The problem with it's going to be almost $30 million. The problem with bidding a project that large is you kind of exclude some of the mid-sized contractors, and you don't want to limit yourself on pricing. So, the West Plant repurposing project, we just had a meeting today. That is moving forward. One option we were looking at was to do a publicly financed option, which was once the facility at the West Plant is up and running, the anaerobic digestion or whatever the repurposing facility will be, was that the city would take on the debt for that project. But due to the cost of the project, which is north of $50 million, it didn't seem financially wise for the city to take that on. So we're moving forward with the private financing option. So the bidders will have to finance the project with their own funds. And we still have some, I think 3 or 4 companies that are willing to do that. So it's not like we're excluding, everyone. So the East Plant Hazard Communication Plan, this was the result of a programmed inspection of the East Plant as far as our safety from the state. The Department of Labor Services came in. One of the things they found was we have to develop a hazard communication plan, and that basically explains to people at the plant that work there what are the hazards in the plant related to chemicals mostly, chemicals stored at the plant, how to handle them safely. So we've contracted with Weston & Sampson for that, and they are in the process of developing the plan. So hopefully in the next couple months, we'll have that submitted to the state and can satisfy their requirements. Is there any questions on those first few items, or?
Any questions? Like we're good.
Good. So the last item there is transition planning, and that relates to me. I know I've only been in this position about 2 months. This is something I've had in the works since the previous deputy commissioner left. I'll be taking a position with the federal government, and this Friday is my last day. I've been working with Commissioner Erickson and Superintendent McNamara, who's sitting directly behind me. Mark has been in wastewater treatment for probably decades, right, Mark?
31 years.
Yeah, 31 years. So he knows his stuff. I have confidence in him and operating the plant and managing the administrative duties of the department in the interim here, as we develop a search for a new person. I've been sitting with Mark the last week going over a lot of the things with the collections division. The treatment side, he knows in and out better than I do, so we'll be in good hands there. So again, thank you for this brief stint I had, and I appreciate you nominating me to the position. And if there's anything that comes up, and my last day's Friday, feel free to reach out, and I'll answer your question the best I can.
Well, certainly we wish you luck in your new position.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Now, as part of this report, we've got the Mark's information. The mayor appoints, correct? The mayor will appoint?
Right, so our plan is, since Jeff had left and I'm leaving, there's really 2 jobs that have to be filled. So we're splitting some of my duties with the new civil engineer. We'll take quite a few of them. Mark will take over just in the interim, at least for now, like I said, running the department day to day. But you are correct that a formal advertisement and, recommendation from the mayor, from the commissioners, similar to the process I went through, will have to happen.
Well,
Right,
Mark, we were provided you with your resume right before the meeting, but quick look at it, very impressive.
So our goal would be to, basically advertise for the position and conduct the search, interview, and all that. That process takes a little bit of time, even if things move fast, that could take 2 months. So it would be great to have someone in at least one of those 2 vacancies in the meantime. So I think Mark fits the bill there. He's willing to do it, which is, awesome that he's stepped up and offered to help us out. So I was hoping to do what I had done similar to Tony, where I put together a letter of recommendation for the council tonight, or committee tonight. I didn't have time to do that. There's just so much going on. So I sent out the resume and cover letter right before this meeting. I'm hoping you've had at least a few minutes to glance at it. My thought here is to make a motion to recommend that the commission votes on giving Mark the title of interim deputy director of wastewater, with the understanding that, once HR has got the job posted, we'll continue on with that path. I'm sure Mark will throw his hat in the ring too, and we'll see where that goes. And then once we've had the meeting tonight, that we discuss further with HR on Mark's compensation and get an official approval from the mayor's office.
So, is the motion, I don't know what authority we have versus whether our role is to recommend to the mayor, or is our role to appoint?
Our role is to recommend to the mayor.
Okay.
That's the process that I was given for Tony. So we made the recommendation to the mayor to appoint Tony, and then that recommendation was forwarded to HR in the mayor's offices, and then he made the formal appointment.
Okay.
So I guess I would make a motion, or I'd like to make a motion to recommend that we recommend to the mayor's office that we appoint Mark McNamara as interim deputy commissioner of wastewater.
Okay. Do I have a second to that motion? A second. Is there discussion on that motion? Does anybody want to ask Mark questions, or anything that we need to deal with here, or are we comfortable?
Well, Mark, do you want to just give us a 2-minute rundown of your experience and work history, and just so everyone knows who you are, give yourself a little introduction?
Sure. My name's Mark McNamara. I'm the superintendent of the East Fitchburg treatment plant. I got hired by the city back in 1989 as a regular operator under Peter Hughes at the time. During that time period, I left the city of Fitchburg and went for the Department of Correction and operated my own treatment plant for 7 or 8 years. And from there, I transitioned to the director of engineering slot for the maximum security prison. I had 21 years working for the Department of Correction, but 31 years overall in wastewater. Since I came back in May of 2012, and I've been the superintendent there at the treatment plant through all the SSU projects and all that we've done over the past 10 years. Wow, time goes by quick. And there's been a lot of improvements. The treatment capacity has been greatly increased, and so it's been a joy working there. So I thought that, with Tony stepping down, my experience, I can step up and help with. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with the consent decree reporting and all these other important items that are approaching. I thought I could help out.
Thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? think from our perspective, certainly as a commission, one of our biggest issues or concerns is the consent decree.
Yes.
And we just got to make sure that as we go through these steps, we don't miss a beat here.
I agree.
Right, and Mark is just as familiar as I am with all the the players, so to speak, at EPA and DEP. So he knows what they expect and what needs to be done with the consent decree.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions?
Looks good.
Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Is there any other business? Oh, okay. The next meeting is February 9th at 5 o'clock. And if there's no further business, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Hit the
great
gavel
evening.
again.